Alright, welcome everyone. In this video I'm going to show you how to create faces that are more unusual. And so I'm going to draw a bunch of different heads. I'm not going to bring these to any sort of a level of completion, but I'm just going to show you that you don't have to follow the rules the way that I initially had laid them out in those first two videos. So I've given myself a head that's more perfectly oval instead of looking like an egg shape. Here we've got one that's going to be an egg shape, but it's going to be upside down. Here's another one where we might have it pointed on both ends, almost like a football shape, or a football, going straight up and down. And then here is one where the football might be going sideways, almost like Stewie from Family Guy. And then, let's see, what else can we do? We can make one that's more triangular. And then you could even have one that's even weirder than that. Maybe one that's shaped like an upside down pear or something, So feel free to, work with any sort of a head shape you want when you're working on your final design. Remember, on our final design, we're going to be doing a creature design. So it's not necessarily going to be human, although maybe one of them could be human and that human is turning into something else. Or it could just be three separate characters that are all completely different. And, representing three different characters in a movie or a TV or a game. So you're going to be next placing your eye, nose, and mouth lines. And just like the fact that these shapes are different, you can make the placement of your eye, nose, and mouth lines different as well. So if you want to have your eye line up really high instead of at the center, you can do that. You can make the nose line down lower, and that way, this is probably, this is down low compared to halfway between here and here. And then you could have the mouth up really high, so it's not halfway between here and here, it's up way higher, and that'll give the person a giant chin. You can still have the center line go down the center of the face if it's looking straight towards you, obviously. Now, what if we want to do something different here? Maybe the eye line is down really low. Maybe the nose line is up really high, so it'll have a really, really small nose. And then the mouth line maybe overly low, so that'll minimize the size of the chin. Here we could do the proportions just normal if we wanted to, because the head shape is already interesting. So, this space and this space basically the same. We can put the mouth line halfway between here and here. And then let's come up with some other variations here. So maybe on the Stewie looking one, we can have the eye line being in the standard place halfway from top to bottom. We can have the nose line being up really high. That'll give us teeny little ears and a teeny little nose, and then maybe the mouth's in the center. So play around with any sort of proportions you want is essentially what I'm telling you. The more you get it off from the standard, the more interesting and creative your creature designs are going to look. So maybe we will have our eye line going at some sort of a weird angle like this, making the eyes tilt downwards on the corners that are facing or closest to the ears. We can have the nose be up super high. And maybe the mouth is in the center between the nose line and the chin. And then over here, maybe we'll go for a high eye line, a low nose line, and a really low mouth line. That might almost be like an animal, where it doesn't even have a chin. All right, and then you can start creating whatever sort of proportions you want for your eyes. So your eyes could have a standard proportion where the distance between eyes is going to be the same as the width of your eyes. So you could put your eyes the standard distance, but in this case they're up too high on the head. You could do the nose super wide. So instead of making the nose the distance between the eyes, we could make the nose come up to halfway underneath the eyes instead. So that'll give us a super wide nose on this character. And maybe the mouth will be very small. Maybe the mouth will come up to the width of the space between the eyes. So he's going to have a very petite mouth compared to the nose. Now this one was going to have a pretty big chin because we did make that bottom line of the mouth up high. And then feel free to give the jawline some interesting kind of changes of shape or structure. So maybe we'll make this person look a little bit more full-figured. Maybe they got a little bit more of a roundness to their cheeks. And then, of course, you can make the ears come next. So play around with the shapes that you're creating and don't feel bound by tradition, but make conscious choices to change the proportions. Maybe his hair up here is going to be super high. Actually, this is kind of how my hairline looks. All right, and obviously you can do other things too. So this is almost like a Shrek style of head here. So have fun with it. If you want to make the eyes super close together and make them super wide, you can do that. You can have the nose being super skinny. So lining up with the corners of the nose, or the eyes as they should be, but because the eyes are too close together, that makes the nose look really skinny. And in this case, it's also super short because this space was much smaller than this one. And then maybe the mouth will come out as far as the center of the eyes, which is a little bit too far. Remember, normally we'd make the mouth stop, a little bit before those lines, but you can make the mouth a little overly wide in this case. Or even go a little bit past those lines if you want, because we do have a broad jawline on this character. So that might look pretty cool. So you're probably getting the idea by now of what I'm talking about. And you can start drawing whenever you want to. I'm going to continue to create a couple of more designs here, but you can begin working on your piece whenever you want. On this one, maybe I'll make the eyes super far apart, but really small too. And maybe the nose will be really big to look weird in proportion with the very small mouth and eyes. Maybe he'll have a very wide bridge of the nose because the eyes are so far apart. Maybe he'll have kind of an unusual size of earlobe. Maybe the earlobes will come down really low. Maybe he might even have horns or something. Or spikes. Maybe on this character I'll have super huge eyes that are basically the proper width apart, just enormous, but maybe they'll barely be open. Now think about how big the iris is on your eyes too, because you could make an iris that's super, super large. One thing I talked about in class is that if you make irises too large on a human face, it's going to give more of an animalistic effect. And the reason for that is because a lot of animals, you don't really see much of the whites of their eyes unless they're really, really like scared. And when that happens, their eyes get bigger, and so they end up having more whites, the eyes being visible. So if you enlarge the width of the irises to super big, that is going to give it less of a human appearance to your image. You can even make the irises weird shaped too. You can make them like hourglass shape. I believe that's how like goat eyes are shaped. You could make them like cat eyes where they're like slitted or something like that. So you can really get interesting sorts of effects by doing things like that. I could even have like a wide bridge of the nose tapering down into a small ball of the nose and small nostril holes and nostril curves. Now, could you have more than one eye, or more than two eyes, I mean? Yeah, you could have more than two eyes if you wanted to. We can play around with that on one of these too. So maybe we'll have one eye that's up here, and we'll have another two eyes that are over here. So some of the fun parts about this project is seeing what people do with their ability to tweak the rules when it comes to canon proportions and make things look interesting. Maybe we won't even have a nose on this character. Maybe it'll just have some nostril slits, and since it's got three eyes, why not a third nostril slit? And then yeah, we could have just one mouth, but if you wanted to, you could have more than one mouth, or you can make the mouth super wide so that it comes like the whole width of the face. And maybe it doesn't even have lips so much. Maybe it just has the mouth opening with like teeth being visible or something. Almost looks like a shark mouth or something. So have some fun with playing around with those proportions. This can really make your piece interesting. And let's face it, art shouldn't look boring. Art should look interesting, right? Well, I don't know. Depends on what you think is beautiful, but maybe the top of the head will dent in right here. All right. And then for the last one, I got this weird kind of a shape right here. Now, a lot of people are like, can I make an alien face? Well, yes, you can make an alien face, that's fine. But you still have to make it interesting enough to where it doesn't look plain Jane boring. So like just doing two big eyes like this, two little nostril holes, and a little teeny mouth, too boring, sorry. You gotta do better than that, okay? So if you want to have it like that, maybe there's some sort of texture that's going on with the eyes. So maybe the eyes are faceted like, an insect's eyes. And maybe instead of just having the two nostril holes, maybe it's got 4 or 6. And just because it has nostril holes doesn't mean it can't have nostril curves. So maybe that nostril curve happening goes like that. So you can see already it's starting to look more interesting. You could even have a little dent here in the middle. And then maybe it has a hair lip, kind of like a dog or a cat. And then more of a muzzle. So by now you should have the idea of what we're kind of looking for on this. We're looking for something interesting. We're looking for something cool. We're looking for something personalized and weird, perhaps. Now, could you have something, non-organic in one of these? In other words, something not, natural looking? Yeah, maybe we could have the top of his head chopped off. Maybe you can have a brain being visible in the inside and some sort of like a dome going on around that. So we can draw like little wrinkles in a brain here and make it look kind of weird and gross even. And then the dome going around it to help to protect that brain. You could have some sort of cybernetic attachments on the side. Whatever. Okay? So enjoy yourself, and whenever you're ready, you can start working on your first character for your final design. Now, there's not going to be any like little practice drawings like what I'm showing you right now. There's actually going to be just the big rough draft paper, and you start sketching out ideas. If they don't come out looking right away, play around with them until you have something that you like. And once you have 3 faces that are either all different creatures or a transformation from one creature slowly becoming a different creature, then you can tighten it all up, make it look perfect, and then get it traced over to your final draft. And the final draft is the one that will get shaded in or colored in, depending on your preference. And that is it. Have a great day, ladies and gentlemen.